I believe this is the most sensational information to ever appear on planet Earth.
Louder! I've abandoned my child!
Johnny, I heard a report yesterday that Australia could be at war with China. War within 3 years. Yeah, I heard that too, Johnny. Well, what can we do about it? What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? We should be doing a hell of a lot more about it than what we're doing. Governments seem to think that...
The US Congress has delivered its most alarming assessment yet on the threat China poses to America and its allies, even raising the prospect of Beijing launching a military strike against the US.
Governments seem to think that when they hear all this bloody stuff, get these reports, they seem to think that it's just business as usual.
If you opened the Sydney Morning Herald or The Age this morning, you might have choked on your coffee. These papers usually try to frighten you with global warming and the so-called climate crisis, but today it was a bold declaration about the threat of war with China, the red alert. Australia faces the threat of war with China within 3 years, the 9 newspapers declared, and we're not ready.
Yeah, business as usual. I mean, Johnny, just imagine for a moment that we've got a next-door neighbour, right? A neighbour, right, oh yeah. Yeah, and one of our friends bangs on the door and comes in and says, listen, Johnny, I've heard a report, we've done a whole lot of study on your neighbour next door, and we reckon that in September he's going to come over here, punch you in the nose, and set fire to your house. Jesus, yeah. If you thought that was a realistic prospect, Johnny, would you go out next morning when you're mowing your front fucking lawn and see Charlie on his front lawn and wave and say, "G'day, Charlie, how are you today?" Yeah, we'll be over for the barbecue next Saturday. Yeah, that'll be great. See ya. I suppose you wouldn't be too bloody, you wouldn't be too friendly with him at all. No, you wouldn't. You'd be fucking looking at the bloke and saying, that bastard's going to come and punch me in the nose and set fire to me house. Well, I don't want anything to do with him. In fact, I'd get up some barricades or get a weapon near the bloody door, a baseball bat near that bloody door, so if he does show up in September, you can do something about it. Right, yeah. But governments who authorise these reports, this reporting on supposed threats, when the threat is identified, they say, no, that's exaggerated. We're not having any sort of bloody violent contact with China. They're our trading friends, and it's just not realistic.
And there were plenty in the media who were in denial too, especially at the ABC.
You know, when you look at what China has done in the South China Sea, almost to reinvent the geography of that key shipping area, Samoa, the Solomons. It's recently opened an embassy in Kiribati. Now, these are not.
This is not necessarily evidence of bullying, is it? This is not evidence of bullying, says the ABC host.
And you know, Johnny, that Australia being at war with China means the US is at war, because we just won't go have a war with China all by ourselves. But Johnny, haven't we got millions of bloody Chinese living here now? Yeah, we have. We've got millions of them here, Johnny. Now, most of them are probably pretty good, but who do we know? How do we know they are? I mean, if a war breaks out, are we going to have people over here blowing up our bloody bridges and railway tracks? Especially when there's been threats of war with China for fucking years. Yeah, whatever. And we're still getting bloody thousands of them coming in here to bloody live, supposedly, peacefully. Racist? How racist do you reckon it is to blow them up with nuclear fucking weapons? So, Johnny, let me get this straight. Australia and the US reckons we're going to be at war in 3 years. Yeah, that's right. So, is anybody taking any steps to avoid being in a war in 3 years? No, nothing's being done apparently. We're all just going to we're just heading for war in 3 years. We might have to stop eating Chinese takeaway, dim sims and all that sort of bloody... Come on, Johnny, get to the fucking point.